Alright, so it is time for a brief overview of what I did in Australia. Kind of really quick, take you guys through the 2 weeks that I had there. And then there will be some other videos that are about some of the more specifics of some of these parts, but this will just be the quick and dirty overview of what I did and what I saw, that sort of stuff. So when I first got in there, I took a train from the airport into the city. And one thing that they have in Australia that I thought was super awesome on the trains was they were double-decker trains. I don't know if that's common in other places or not, but I have never seen those, so that was super cool. Like, you walk in from the platform and then there's a staircase going up and a staircase going down, and you can choose to sit on the top or sit on the bottom, and I just thought that was awesome. Another thing that their trains had that was really cool was the seat backs on the chairs could be adjusted to either side. So if you had a large group of people, you could go and sit in two consecutive rows, you know, with the backs here and the backs here, so you're all facing each other. But then if you're not in a giant group, then you can, you know, shift one of the seat backs and then all be facing the same direction, so you don't have to be looking at strangers, I guess. But yeah, that was really cool that you could do that, and there's in the trains there. And so yeah, that was really cool. Let's see. I had my realization that I'm traveling shortly after getting into Sydney when I saw the Opera House. That's episode 8, talks about that. And in exploring the city, I ended up at a place called Paddy's Market, which is like a giant marketplace, I guess, in the basement level of this mall in town in Sydney there. And so there's just like stalls everywhere with people selling everything you could possibly imagine. And so I spent a little time wandering around there and ended up buying this super awesome hat. So now I've got this cool hat. Let's see. I spent an entire day at the Powerhouse Museum. There's going to be another episode on that as well. That'll be episode 10. And then did a little trip up to Hamilton with a girl that I met in New Zealand who lives in Australia. I'll do a little bit about that as well, some of the stuff that I experienced on that trip, and that'll be episode 11. I got to go up into the Sydney Eye, which is this tower in Sydney. It's got an observation deck, 360-degree views. It cost a little bit to get into and go up, but it was super cool. Definitely worth it if you like the views. Yeah, really cool to see that, and the town looks so small from up there. You can see all the little cars and everything, all the people down below. I had my first crisis, like personal life crisis, having to do with being lonely and not feeling like I was making any friends or anything. I will talk about that a little bit more in depth, kind of episode 12, what was up and what I did about it. So I just had a video about the lessons that I've learned, and you know, sometimes I don't heed my own advice. I did end up running into a housing shortage in Sydney, which was due to a festival. There was the gay and lesbian Mardi Gras was in town, which I had no idea was coming up. So everywhere in Sydney was completely booked, and the few places that had any rooms available were like $150 for one night. Not going to happen. So I took that chance and went out to Katoombe, which is a little town right in the Blue Mountains. I had wanted to go out to the Blue Mountains anyways, so it worked out pretty good. One of the things to do out there is some nice hiking out in the Blue Mountains. They're supposed to be very, very scenic. Almost the entirety of the 2 weeks that I was in Australia, it rained almost every day. And when I was out in the Blue Mountains, we had a lot of rain, and along with that, we had fog. So that kind of ruined the scenery out there. There were 3 separate occasions that I tried going for a hike to see the lovely scenery, and you could not see anything because it was so foggy. And then it would rain, and I would just be completely drenched. And so I ended up extending my stay there until I finally got nice weather and was able to go on a giant hike, like 5 or 6 hours. It was awesome. I also met some really cool people out in Katoombe who I ended up traveling with for days. Spent a lot of time with them, and yeah, that was awesome. We even like had meals together, and it's so much easier to cook for a few people than just one person, so that was awesome as well. I did get to go back into Sydney after we were done in Katoombe, and when we were there, I walked over the Sydney Bridge, which is free to do if you're on like street level. They do have a tour that kind of goes up and over like on top of the beams, and I think they talk about some of the history of the bridge and tell you cool little facts about it, but I did not do that tour. I just did the free version, walking across on street level. Got rained on, got soaked. It was awesome. I also got to do the coastal walk from Bondi Beach to Coogee Beach. It was actually nice weather for that day. Did not get rained on, but it was not super hot either, which was awesome. I did that with some of my new friends that I'd made, as well as some old friends that are living in Australia and were able to come down and visit with me, spend the day. And then to finish it all up, I went and stayed with one of my friends for a few days that lives down here. That was really nice to have a house to stay in instead of being in a hostel, have a few days of just like relaxing and like the luxury life, if you will. Able to, do my laundry for free, and there you go. That is the quick and dirty. As I mentioned going through this, you can expect a few more episodes with more details on some of this stuff. And then it's off to Singapore.